Good evening, everyone. This is Arani Sarkar, your host for today's session. A very warm welcome to all of you to the second episode of Wealthy Knowledge Series webinars. This is a Wealthy Therapeutics initiative to bring together thought leaders across the industry on a common platform to share and exchange perspectives on what's trending in the industry. The topic for today's session is healthy lifestyle, the key to control claims in pandemic. We have with us Dr. Abhijit Kanetkar, Vice President, Insurance Business at Wealthy Therapeutics. Dr. Abhijit will be moderating today's discussion. The discussion will be followed by a live Q&A session. We intend to keep the session interactive and encourage all of you to participate and share inputs. Please feel free to set questions to the panelists or raise hands to ask a question directly to one of our panelists. We'll try our best to address all the questions that come up. Let's start the session without further ado. Over to you, Dr. Abhijit.
Yeah, thank you, Arun. It's like good evening to all of you and to my panelists as well as the attendees. It is pleasure to be part of the this event as a moderator. On behalf of Wealthy Therapeutics, I take this opportunity to welcome all the panelists and the attendees today to the second edition of the Wealthy Knowledge Series. We are lucky to have eminent experts in the insurance industry as our panelists for this event. Let me take the pleasure to introduce each one of them. Let me start with the senior most panelist today, Dr. Abhitabh Gupta. Dr. Abhitabh Gupta, good evening. Dr. Abhitabh is a radiologist by academic qualification and an author of 11 medical books. He is considered as the pioneer of the TPA industry in India. He has worked as a CEO of the oldest TPA, Paramount Health Services, for 10 plus years. He is currently the director and CEO of Good Health Insurance TPA Limited. He is very well known for his business development skills with strong relationships across various sectors around the insurance industry and corporates. He has helped several insurance companies to design innovative insurance products in India. He has been on board of several companies, including startups. He has been part of several committees constituted by Ministry of Ayush, FICCI, CII, IRDA. It's absolute pleasure to have you on board today, Dr. Gupta. Looking forward to have a very good conversation with you. Thank you. Our next expert is another doctor. He is Dr. Mukund Kulkarni. Dr. Mukund Kulkarni is a well-known figure in insurance industry. He is Armed Forces Medical College graduate, and he served the prestigious Indian Army as a commissioned officer for 7 years. His corporate career has been in wide sectors of healthcare, like health strategy, policy, financing, outsourcing, occupational health, wellness, and clinical domains at global level. He is an expert in insurance medicine with core competencies in risk underwriting, product innovation, and claims management. He has worked for leading firms like AXA, Swiss Reinsurance Company, Reliance Industries, ICICI Lombard, and Tata AIG Life Insurance. Thanks for joining us for this discussion, Dr. Mukund. We welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Yes. Apart from these senior doctors, we have a special panelist, Hemant Mehta. Hemant belongs to the fraternity I personally respect the most in the insurance industry, the pricing actually. He has close to 20 years of experience in insurance industry, ranging from life insurance to consulting to reinsurance. He is currently working with SCOR, the fourth largest reinsurance company globally. He is heading the life and health vertical of SCOR in India. As an actuarial professional, he has worked in areas like product development, pricing, valuation for various products, covering mortality, health, and critical illness risk. I welcome you all and look forward to an interesting conversation for the next 1 hour. Let me start the discussion from Dr. Mukund. Dr. Mukund, being a global insurance medicine expert, how do you see the impact of the pandemic situation on the insurance?
Yeah, as a pandemic, COVID-19 has been the hot topic practically every day since last almost 9+ months now, and the way we use the word new normal today, practically for every person or every organization, new normal also applies to health insurers. And what it means is the entire health ecosystem has been kind of either influenced, challenged, or the new forces which have evolved during this pandemic, be it on the front of technology adoption. So we today talking about telemedicine and even remote monitoring. The sensors are coming up pretty well for home healthcare kind of situation, which pretty much does well for management of the milder and asymptomatic cases of COVID-19. So those technologies are getting naturally tested and getting applied today, or be it even to a little surprise regulations part. I'm sure everybody is seeing practically, guidelines and protocols being shared by either Ministry of Health from the government or ICMR or allied bodies like the academic institutes. And in initial days, we used to practically see this coming up almost every third day, which is a good thing because I think standardization and regulations protocols are coming up pretty well, and health insurers need to also start looking at standardizing and contributing in these areas, kind of thing. The third most important force, I would say, is more about engaging the customers. There was a time when pre-COVID days, hospitals used to be kind of reactive in nature, where people used to land up only when they either are in a serious state or critical state, or somebody from their physical fraternity has guided them to get admission. But today, because of looking at the positive side of I would say infodemic, so many medical literature is being posted all over online today. Customers are more aware, and there are a lot of measures taken by the authorities to make the customer aware, especially on the IPC front, hygiene front, and plus also giving them a little idea about the diseases and how to keep yourself safe, kind of thing. Which means today customers are much more empowered to understand the implications, and they can make choices. That's what it is. Even on the provider front, I think this is the first time in the history where government started, controlling the capacity and resources in hospitals. We never heard that happening earlier. We used to only see that happening in certain government schemes and certain, fragmented areas. But here, the first time government also got into that, which I guess is though it's a part of disaster preparedness, but I guess it's tested that resilience in system in the ecosystem where we can provide those kind of capacity services to the overall population. So overall, this ecosystem has got influenced by various forces, and what it means for a health insurer is definitely the agility to adapt to this, whether to use technology, like we said, and I'm sure we're going to discuss more about technology down in this session. And also, it's not only getting some new products or newer services like telehealth and all, it's also introspect your own books. Every insurer is getting huge number of claims, and they're now having an opportunity. I'm sure Dr. Abhitabh would share more light on that as to how do we look at what kind of costs are getting allocated to various services which our customers are bearing today. So a good introspection opportunity for insurers. All they have to do is come together, create a nice strategy, and start evaluating the risk more from these forces perspective.
Great, great, great. And in fact, I should thank you because I'm going to Dr. Abhitabh for the next question because you covered most of the global scenario. But I would definitely like to understand from Dr. Abhitabh because he has treated quite a few patients during this corona situation as a radiologist. At the same time, he being a TPA, kind of head of the TPA, he has processed a lot of COVID claims. So, Dr. Abhitabh, let me understand from you how many these cases which actually received, they were already admitted into the hospital, how many of them were really genuine, or how many of them were actually out of the fear, where we call it corona phobia, and just have some sort of, chronic diseases as a comorbidity because of which they got into the hospital. So, what is your experience during this pandemic?
Yeah, thanks, Abhijit. Let me give you an overall perspective, first as a doctor and then as an insurance professional. Of course, we are going through very unprecedented times. I think the entire healthcare industry and the insurance sector was absolutely unprepared for this epidemic. This epidemic actually taught us that health is wealth, something which we knew but never bothered, and always took it as an old age proverb. So the mantra prevention is better than cure could not have been better proved, if not these times. And my experience says that suddenly all of us have become health freaks, and we are trying our own very method, sitting at home, trying to get into some kind of a fitness, and something which we had seen during our childhood days, when we used to watch on TV some religions and fitness gurus yeah, in the morning, who were trying to create these mass movements or motivate people to get into these fitness regimes and care for our health. Unfortunately, this time the trigger was COVID. However, coming back to the figures, our official figures, of course, show that we had about 1 crore people infected with a mortality rate of 1.5%. That is how the insurance sector also has these figures. The unofficial figures have been much higher. And uh, in Delhi alone, it was brought out in the print media that about 30% of the population had antibodies. And but still, as a nation, we have been categorized that we have not reached the herd immunity stage yet. The medical fraternity was actually not prepared for such an onslaught, and we slowly realized what exactly the treatment and what exactly what the prophylactic medicines which we should be taking. And as we became more wiser, we learned about the symptoms and complications. We realized one thing, and that was, people were contracting corona and who had comorbidities. So that became, the fear factor. And also people who had compromised immune systems because of these existing comorbidities or diseases, and they were the people who were at a higher risk of death. Some of these comorbidities have been are actually hypertension, diabetes, liver diseases, asthma, chronic COPD, immunocompromised conditions, malignancy, bronchitis, neuromuscular diseases. Anyway, so the study which we've seen is about that 58% of the patients had one or more comorbidities. What we also realized during this epidemic was that there were underlying comorbidities which and unidentified, which people did not know, which proved to be a silent killer. People were coming to know about their comorbidities because they started testing themselves and investigating as to why they are having symptoms. And what we also saw that most of the comorbidities which were found in these patients, uh, diabetes proved to be the number one factor, followed by hypertension, and then followed by the rest. Uh, we should be doubting that because India is considered as the capital of diabetes, and we have the maximum cases in the world. Uh, Also, data showed that 11% of the COVID patients who actually died were between 26 to 44, but majority of them were 60 years and above, which was more than 50%. Maximum deaths happened in the age group of 69 years or more, and 80% of the deaths which happened had comorbidities associated with them. Coming back to insurance claims, we saw about more than 3 lakh claims amounting to 5,000 crores, which was the hit on the insurance companies till about end of September, which was the third wave, as we talked about. And we also realized that initially the claims were limited to mostly urban areas, but we started seeing claims coming in more and more from semi-urban and rural areas. And we also realized that overall claims were, 30% or more claims were that of COVID. So COVID proved to be a major denting factor as far as claim ratios were concerned. And another thing which we realized was that patients with comorbidities had higher length of stay, leading to higher cost. Now, coming back to your last question, which was whether these claims were genuine or not. So there is no question of whether the claims were genuine or not, because these patients were suffering from corona. But nobody wanted to take a chance. People wanted to get admitted. As time passed, they realized that comorbidities were actually leading to either complications or higher risk of death. And that is why people wanted to get admitted. And suddenly we had a situation where there were no beds available in our country.
Right. Correct. So I think this is a very good data point which you spoke about, that 30% of the claims are actually contributing because of the COVID situation. And I would like to go to Mukund on this. And Mukund, do you think that the pattern is same across the globe, or is it different for India?
I guess the more or less it is the same, though we don't have, we would love to see some data which is centrally published, on the, we still have regional data, and I can refer to, the US data, which also generally harps around 20% to 30%, depending upon the exposures and, the places where the testing capabilities are also, looked after. So it's more or less same, but I think the major difference, like what happens is it's more about people also trying to get admitted because they're getting, like the question you asked, whether it is because of fear or anxiety because of new disease. And we also hear it is beyond a respiratory illness. It's unlike those other influenza we've been seeing, so some of the studies on that part. So that may be a contribution. And the other way is also, we've been hearing about the testing abilities. We have RT-PCR as a gold standard, but that also has its own limitations, not 100% specific or sensitive as such, and the cost and obviously the infrastructure. So I guess the function of various factors leading to these numbers. But what is more important to understand is this definitely has created a lot of awareness in the early stages of the disease, where people would like to take care, and that's where it has given birth to home health care services, and even some of the ad hoc isolation centers which has tested kind of thing, which is actually a good sign of testing the ecosystem.
Great. So I think this is a very good point where you are saying that people are now motivated, or they are like now driven towards taking care of their chronic conditions. I would like to ask Hemant, do you think that if we have some solutions available where we can manage the chronic conditions with lifestyle management or modification, these claims could have been maybe lesser, or the length of stay would have been lesser than what it is currently?
Thank you, Dr. Abhijit, for a very generous introduction and a very good question. Before I start responding to that question, a quick disclaimer that the views that I would be sharing during the webinar today are my personal, may not necessarily represent the views of SCOR. We live in this era of lifestyle disease, and by definition, it's the disease associated with the way a person lives. Sedentary lifestyle or unhealthy food habits, including tobacco usage and drinking habits. This has become very common among most of the insurable population if we look currently. This is also a root cause for most of the chronic conditions like heart disease or stroke or cancer, which are leading causes of chronic diseases in India. And there are sufficient empirical studies that suggest that a realistic modification in your diet and lifestyle can prevent most of these chronic conditions. So this will have a direct impact. There is no two ways about it that better lifestyle management will certainly lead to a better health insurance experience. And this, not just in terms of incidences, but also in terms of severity, including the length of stays and everything. So as Dr. Abhitabh just mentioned, that prevention is better than cure. It's no different when it comes to health insurance for the chronic disease management. Back to you, Dr. Abhijit.
Yeah, great. So, and again, I should thank you because again, I was about to ask Dr. Abhitabh about this. Just one thing which is very interesting about claims is there any difference in the retail claims, retail policy claims and the group policies claims? What would be the difference? And second thing, you mentioned about the preventive management or wellness, which we usually talk about. So when you talk about wellness, do you think wellness in the traditional sense, which is the value add services, which is where we usually do health checkup and have some sort of value add services, instead of we should target the disease management, which is the better wellness and which should be looked at as the solution for the claims control or claims management. Yeah. Before you start, Dr. Abhinav, I would like to tell you that you should be a bit louder. Your voice is
Okay,
coming a bit
sorry.
low.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you asked me two questions. So
Yeah.
the first question is about the claims pattern. The claims pattern basically depends on the geographic location where the policy has been sold, depending on who sold it where and how much. So, and it also depends, the claims depend on the prevalence of COVID in that particular region, locality, and conditions, working conditions where, a lot of companies today have allowed work from home. So there are multiple factors which actually decide whether claims are coming and how many claims are coming in that geographical location, or whether it's retail policy or a group policy. Most of the group policies cover corona as a condition. However, insurance regulator came out with specific policies for corona, and they came out with retail policies, and group policies were introduced much later. So therefore, I'm sure that the claims under retail policies are much higher than group policies because it's very natural. Coming to wellness, late last year, IRDA actually asked insurance companies to include wellness and preventive measures in their insurance policies, which could actually encourage the policy holders to stay healthy. And also, insurers were interested that they would have lesser claims. They allowed this as an optional cover or an add-on cover, both for retail and now also for group policies. Depending on how an insured is managing his health, they can, insurer can actually offer discounts on premium or increase in sum insured at the time of renewal, or they can give redeemable vouchers, gym membership, other wellness benefits. And with reduced payouts, insurance companies could also be in a position to actually offer, in case of groups, a group discount to the corporates. But the question is this enough? Why am I asking this? I think the answer is probably no. We have seen that in our country, the prescription adherence is very low. And the main reason for that is that the moment a person starts realizes that he's feeling much better, then he stops taking medicine. He stops going to that gym, or he stops exercising, or he doesn't do what is actually required for him to do in order to manage that disease. Now, coming to your part of the question, then who's going to manage this? Who's going to oversee this? Clearly, there is a big role what a disease management company can do, what they have to offer. Insurers clearly cannot manage or monitor the entire portfolio as far as wellness is concerned. They need professionals. Period.
Great. I was actually this answer actually leading to the another question, which is for Hemant, whether we should have disease management as a tool included into the product, he being a product guy and working with health insurance sector, what do you think, Hemant? We should have a disease management tool as a part of a product so that we can actually control the claims better? And if yes, then which are those disease management tools you think we should have into the health insurance sector?
Right. So, if we look at the current health propositions or historical health proposition in insurance market, the insurance companies have always been seen as just the payer. Now, given the current situation and the way the ecosystems are emerging, consumers are not seeing insurance companies just as somebody who is just going to come in at the time when they are, in not so good of health. So, uh, what I would like to see, or what I think is more valuable for the customer, is a wider bouquet of services that the insurance company can extend within the healthcare ecosystem. Now, there would be multiple ways to engage with the customer. It could be, as you said, that could be value-added services like regular health checkup, or it could also be use of health and wellness apps for more targeted sort of health solution to provide to the end customer. It can also include psychological triggers, like you add a gamification and try to create more of peer encouragement or social media influences. So I wouldn't say that it would be just one aspect that will be sufficient to engage the customer. It has to be a wider network of touch points that the insurance company should try and include in the health proposition, so as to keep the motivation level of the customer high to stay active and healthy. Sorry,
Right.
Dr. Mukund
Yeah,
raised his.
I just wanted to add on that. I think it's a very good point both you guys have brought out. Today we're talking about integrated services, holistic health, moving from payer to partnering platform. Most of the insurers are talking about this. I would probably, I recollect my medical old school days where, health promotion was a chapter in one of our books. And I am sure, it's not something new today. It's I think all these years we've been not seeing that getting applied majorly because of two things, I guess. One was there's not enough sensitization or incentivization for the patient to participate. And that's where I think Dr. Abhitabh made a very good point as to today, we are able to incentivize people for managing the health better. And I think the second major constraint was technology. Like I said, if we have to really ensure that there is a prescription adherence, everything was dependent on the motivation levels, and there was no, data which could remind him, or there's no technology which could actually tell the doctor that there's been some issue with the compliance part kind of thing. But today, I think the scenario is different. These both areas are pretty much advanced. We have technology which can monitor things, and we also have good incentivization programs. We are trying to structure it and give it a nice packaged name and putting it tagged along, whether within the policy or as a rider. But I guess it's more of a cultural shift rather than one specific addition of a product or a benefit.
Great. So, Dr. Mukund, do you think that this pandemic has actually, pushed us to concentrate more on the chronic diseases and the lifestyle management, which will help us into managing better policies, providing better services, and of course, controlling the claims?
Yeah, that's a very good question because I think when Dr. Abhitabh explained the claims experience of more various companies on an average, we see what has happened is people who have suffered mortality and complications are generally the ones who do have comorbidities. And this pandemic, because people are approaching the healthcare facilities much earlier than what they used to do earlier, in the pre-COVID scenario, it's giving an opportunity to deep dive and understand the diseases much better. So we have much better opportunities to tackle the chronic diseases, which at a much early stages kind of thing. That's first point. And I think it's not only about, insurers and specifically health insurers. It's more about how are we managing health across all stakeholders. We're talking about even life insurers today looking at managing health portfolio, which was never heard in the past. And we're also talking about various third-party administrators and companies who specialize in chronic disease management, which are coming up. So I guess it's opened up the sensitization and opportunities to coordinate intersectoral. The need is somebody has to really strategize, and every insurer, I would advise them to strategize what is required to build up as a product proposition, as a service proposition, and also as a customer engagement proposition altogether.
Great. That is very interesting, because then I would definitely like to ask Hemant, because when we talk about the product, the most important thing comes into the picture is the regulator. So how easy it is to have lifestyle management tools, maybe a technology or a servicing platform, which we can include into the product. How easy it is in terms of getting regulators approval, and if at all it is possible in India, how we should proceed. Should we concentrate more on the group policies and then go for retail, or we should directly look for the retail policies to have these tools in built?
Right, Abhijit. So I'll just expand it a bit to not just the regulator. I'll also sort of include the customer alongside the regulator, whether we as a country are easy to ready to accept these sort of. So there is Remark. Remark is a company which is a global insurance consulting firm, and it's a SCOR Group company. Now they conduct this largest life insurance survey, covering I think about 15 odd countries globally, including India. Now, interestingly, one question that they asked was, if an insurer were able to monitor simply your wearable data, for example, your steps and heart rate and sleep pattern, and discount your policy premium based on your activity level, would you like to try this feature? Now, you'll be surprised that 83.4% respondents from India actually were ready to share the wearable data in exchange of the discount on their insurance premium. So that shows that, of course, the respondents covered mostly the millennials and Gen Z, but that's what our current target segment is largely made up of. So from market point of view, we are quite open to accept these features in our insurance products. If we talk about regulations, I think IRDA has already recognized the importance of wellness and other preventive measures, and hence they have already come up with the guidelines specifically for these wellness and preventive measures to be offered as a part of insurance product. And if we talk about other markets outside India, SCOR has already sort of introduced some of the insurance products which rewards policyholder to maintain active lifestyle. So I think in terms of acceptance by the regulators in India as well as outside is, it's quite open, and they are ready to support this initiatives. Purely from product management point of view, the last question that you had asked, that whether it's retail or group, I think purely from product management point of view, given the current set of health regulations, group products gives a little bit of more flexibility, especially if this is something a new innovative features where it's a test and learn for every person who is involved in this, not just the insurance company, reinsurer, policyholder. So the little extra flexibility that a regulator provides with the group platform will help in terms of test and learn for these new features. So yeah, back to you.
Great. Let's understand whether Dr. Abhitabh agrees with you, because he being a TPA guy, he must have had a lot of real tough times while servicing these group policies, and the TPA guys are very much passionate about the servicing for the group policies. So Dr. Abhitabh, do you agree with Hemant, where we can say that it is easier, or it is, first choice should be the group policies, where we can go to the corporates and convince them about the new product features about lifestyle management.
Okay, so I, of course, slightly disagree with Heman. That's because of the last 10, 15 years of experience dealing with corporate clients, dealing with their requirements. And I remember when this word or buzz about wellness came out, none of them actually understood what are we talking about. It started from simple discounts at some pharmacy or hospitals, and nobody talked about actually managing the illness part of it. So that's a huge difference. However, if I have to put it, retail and corporate customers are two sides of the same coin. It is basically from a buying perspective, or from an insurance company a selling perspective, that we have to see how they price it or sell it. So while selling a wellness piece to a corporate could be much easier than going out into retail, because that's a costly affair, and also because you don't have to convince the HR. The HR is also already convinced, because they have to engage in several wellness activities for their employees as a part of their overall management perspective or dictate, and they're just carrying out a job. They're just carrying out what they have to do. Uh, Moreover, we also have to understand that the premium for wellness actually would be paid for by the corporate in most of the circumstances, and not an individual. See, there lies the difference. The HR, if I have to look at it from a corporate perspective, they don't actually know, or sometimes they don't care. Ultimately, every one of us have to care about our own health. The HR today, I don't think any of the HRs actually know what is the actual healthcare status of their employees in the organization, how many diabetics are there, or hypertensives are there, or how many people have chronic diseases or backaches or vision problems. We went out in the market promoting, starting 2009 and 10, the health risk assessment tool. And we told them that let's measure what is the actual healthcare status, because if you have to do either disease management programs or any wellness programs, you need to have a baseline study. And HR, I don't think if I would have approached about 1,000 corporate groups, I think only one of them or two of them got that done.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so look at the huge difference.
Right.
Another thing which I saw was that while offering wellness to corporate groups, we started with health camps. Now, people would not turn up at the health camps either, because they would end up saying or telling the HR, "I'm not a diabetic, or I'm not a hypertensive. I don't. My vision is all right. I don't need to really come. I don't need to do anything from a preventive perspective either." So.
Right.
As I said, health is very, very individual and very, very specific. So, uh, uh, the results which anyone would see, either from a disease management perspective and ultimately the insurance companies, it would be better reflected that if individuals are managed on an individual basis. The programs are run for them in particular, rather than
Right.
as a whole, as a group. I think you also asked me about whether servicing a group policy would be more demanding versus
Right.
yes.
Yes.
Servicing corporates is always demanding than a retail customer.
Right.
Because HR is involved, the management is involved. They are going to ask these companies, these wellness companies, that please show us the outcome reports after doing the wellness activities or disease management programs on them. Then an individual would be more happy than if he would be experiencing the outcomes on himself. So he would know better, whether he's feeling much better or not, rather than the HR who would demand much more.
Great, great. That is a very important point, and I would like to ask Mukund, being an insurance medicine expert, when we are talking about wellness, at least in India or even in other parts of the world, initially we were talking about group wellness or group activities, whereas Abhitabh just mentioned that individual level management is what will matter, which will actually give some good results. So, what do you think? What is your take on the management of every individual with the help of technology such as like telemedicine or digital therapeutics versus the wellness management on a group level? What should be the
Yeah.
better solution?
I think if we see the core DNA of any wellness program success is more of the individual participation there, because at the end of the day, it has to happen at a transactional level where he has to do some things. It can't be a passive thing. It has to be an active participation kind of thing. And like Dr. Abhitabh said, it's more of how you structure the services, whether you're doing it on a retail front or whether you're doing it in a corporate front. I think there are pros and cons of both the sides. But the essence of every disease management program has to be looking at the patient in the center, looking at very clear deliverables, looking at very clear targets to be assigned, and then obviously putting all the processes to achieve those in a very granular, objective, and communicative way. Unless you really don't get this DNA, and I would like to make this comment that because of the opportunity which has opened up, it was there even pre-COVID, but COVID has now suddenly opened up even further. The wellness propositions available in the globe today are absolutely crazy. There's so many players who want to invest into wellness programs today, and there's a lot of mixture happening here. And frankly speaking, if you ask a customer, is confused, he doesn't know where should he subscribe for a wellness service kind of thing. I think what's more important, and I see that, is the insurance company is bought a policy, is trusted, the insurance company is paying premiums to them, and their service providers. I think they make the first role here to be more closer with them and guide them. And for that, every insurer needs to have a very good wellness strategy. And when I say wellness strategy, it's not only about, I'll give a reference to what happens in UK, and NHS has very clearly classified digital health propositions into 3 tiers, saying, okay, first tiers are the ones who are just, general benefits and not very specific. The middle ones are where you have some specific benefits, but again, it's not a treatment. And the third one are purely digital therapeutics, which are, the tools which are used for diagnosis and treatment. A nice classification, making it crystal clear for all the providers to be there. I think we need to, though we don't have that kind of regulation here in India, but we need to have that best practices borrowed here and try and provide product packages based on this. Now, again, as we say, it's up to the individual. So the more the personalization of the offerings happen, the better is the success chances. So what is more important is a lot of data and analytics getting into assessing the risk of individual, whether it belongs to this category or that category, and then structuring the programs around that risk status. That's more important for any insurers. And I feel insurers are the best to do this because, one, they're connected with their customers. Secondly, they do have provisions for these kind of technologies. And third, it's a win-win situation for them as well. It's not I would say, goodwill gesture. It's an inherent risk management practice, which they need to follow to maintain their books and profitability on a long-term basis.
Great. I think we have got few questions as well. And while I'm asking the next question to Hemant, I will club that question with it. So Hemant, do you think that Indian market is ready for accepting digital therapeutics or some technology-driven solutions as a part of product? And how do you see that? Because India is a very price-sensitive market. So do you think that it is really easy for India to adopt for it? And second thing, how do you want to go for it? Do you want to go for it upfront as a part of the product or as a solution once the policy is sold?
Right, Dr. Vijay. So I think both these questions we sort of touched upon earlier during the previous discussions as well. As I said, that if we look at the current target segment, which is much more aware about the health benefits and is ready to accept this as a part of the overall insurance product that the insurance companies that they have been trusting for so long are providing. So, given that awareness level, I think and given the size of the country, 1.3 billion people, although we consider only 100 million people as insurable population, if you are able to create a niche even out of that 100 million people, that's a sufficiently large market as size of any other, some of the other developed countries. So I think we are in a good position to create niche markets for these products. If we have to, the other question was whether it should be right from the beginning or as a value-added services. Again, earlier we spoke about prevention is always better than cure. So from that point of view, it's better to, and it's easier for people to get involved at earliest as possible to get the maximum benefit out of it.
Great, great. I think we are getting a lot of questions, and we will keep those questions for the Q&A session. But before that, I would just like to have maybe one or two sentences as a closing comment from each of you, whether a lifestyle management should be the way to go. Go to manage the claims during the next few years. What do you think? So maybe I can start with Mukund.
I think it's no longer an option. It's a mandate which every individual, as a consumer, every provider, and every financier has to look at. The lens has to change. Earlier, people and it's more of a cultural and attitudinal shift which people need to start looking at, kind of thing. Secondly, use of technology. I would say definitely lifestyle management in a country like India is not possible without the use of technology. And I'm very happy to see even our government is taking a very serious cognizance of that. They've announced the digitization policy, especially NDHM and health IDs to be created. I'm seeing a very good support from there, at least initiated. And the other thing is definitely cost part. And we are all looking at from an insurance perspective. We don't want to have provisions which are not cost sensitive, because India is still not a rich country. And if we really need to see good value come out of these programs, they have to be running through the cost lens as well. So it has to be affordable, it has to be usable, it has to prove value, and plus it has to be technology based. And as I said, it's a mandate.
Yeah. Dr. Abhitabh?
I fully agree with Dr. Mukund. He said it all. All I would want to say here is that see, health and is very specific to any individual, and the records are also very, very specific to each one of us. And I think our laws don't allow the records to be shared. So any healthcare management company or insurance company or even a corporate have to be cognizant of this fact that however we manage it, there should be permission sought from each individual, because we are talking about their actual healthcare status. Also, from an insurance perspective, I think we have seen a lot of changes in the mindset of the regulator and insurance companies, where now they have allowed teleconsults, the bills coming of that. So a lot of firsts have happened, and I believe for the better, for an individual or for to be enabled to actually manage his health better. There are a lot of tech-enabled companies which are doing that, and insurer is making it easier for them to get covered under insurance.
Great, great. Hemant, closing comments from you?
COVID-19 has actually exemplified the importance of being part of the ecosystem and not just being a standalone participant in this entire healthcare system. And this is where different businesses are coming together to provide an integrated healthcare solution to the end customer, which which is actually in a way creating efficiencies, because it's not that it's only one company or one participant who is benefited out of it. It's the end consumer, it's the service provider, it's the insurance company. I think every participant in this ecosystem is getting benefited out of this synergies that is coming together from these different businesses. So I think this is the way to go forward.
Great, great. I think there is very nice conversation is going on, and I actually don't want to end it. But then there is a Q&A session, and we have got few questions. Actually, the first question I think I should dart it to Hemant only. Whether are there any products in the other markets available which includes digital therapeutics as a part of it, and they have got good success in terms of claims? Are there any products available, and which are those markets, and how we should look at Indian market to have those things, followed in India?
So this, the journey of expanding the benefit beyond pure insurance risk has started sometimes in 2005, around that time, and when Vitality started, where the companies have started recognizing the importance of engaging with customers beyond just paying the claim. So ever since, there has been progresses happening beyond just one sort of program. There are many more companies now engaged with that sort of program, including SCORE, which has introduced a concept called as biological age model in the South Asian markets. Of course, these are still in relatively early stage to get the numbers, but these programs are developed based on solid experience, which clearly suggests that integrated healthcare benefits or system will have a overall impact on the bottom line of the insurance companies as well. So I think from that point of view, also, I think it's something that is the future of insurance industry, that I would say.
Great, great.
I would like to add to this.
Yes,
In fact, in my experience, I've seen some of the big reinsurance companies. Specifically, I would mention Swiss Re. We had a regional department which was only dedicated to look after these add-ons. Initially, they were called as add-ons, but I'm sure they got integrated pretty well in the product propositions. And specifically, they were identifying certain solutions which are dealing with the common chronic conditions, specifically related to whether it is a metabolic condition like diabetes, hypertension, but they were also interested in disability markets like Australia and UK, where they were investing a lot of solutions on the musculoskeletal diseases as well. And in US also, I know about a couple of companies who have invested and kind of brought in these services as a part of their core insurance propositions. And there are experiences also published based on that, which are good. And I think there are a lot of best practices which can be brought in from there.
Great, great. So Mukund, I think the next question can be asked to you only, because this is about when we have these digital therapeutics or other solutions included into the policy or the product as a part of managed health lifestyle management for the chronic disease management. How much time it usually takes to have impact on the incurred claims?
Oh, that's a question typically management will keep asking from day one, and the risk experts will try to avoid that from day one, I'm sure. But that's a good question. At the end of the day, we have to come to that as well. But I think before we get into that, what is more important to understand is, like I said, it's a big market, wellness market, and insurance companies have to clearly differentiate what is wellness versus what is digital therapeutics. I personally don't consider digital therapeutics as a wellness program. It is actually a treatment prescribed by a medical practitioner, very much personalized and customized to the health risk he's trying to address. So it's not really a wellness, though there may be certain provisions of overlaps there, where you see some of these services overlap there. But I think the idea or the objective is to treat. So it's as good as any kind of, a treatment financing rather than health promotion kind of like that. Difference has to be clearly understood. That's first point. And second point is we also need to know that's a chronic disease management. The word chronic itself means it's a long-term thing. It has taken time to develop. It will take time to get controlled or get resolved, which means the benefits are also going to take some time. Now, it's very difficult to really put a number to that, but if you really have a deep dive of understanding your cohort very well, specifically looking at what disease state, what are the age groups, and what are the immunity levels, and what kind of provisions you are trying to take, and what is the engagement level kind of thing, you may probably have a pilot time defined to that. And typically we did this in one of the corporates for, let's say, a younger diabetic, not diabetic, pre-diabetic age group, because that's what we thought, if we avoid people getting from pre-diabetes to diabetes, that's a big contribution to the overall thing. And there we saw that an average period of 1 year is required to see some tangible results, which can be then, converted into a tangible ROI for any, financer.
Great. We have like 3 minutes only, and we have one more question, and that I want to ask to Abhitabh, considering his huge experience in working with the corporates and the group policies. So the question is, when we are talking about group health insurance policies, where we are trying to include these digital therapeutics and other solutions, how can we include the dependents into these benefits? How can we include them? What is the provision? How we can convince the HR? And how, because typically the chronic diseases are to the dependents more than the employees.
Well, the answer is fairly simple. Somebody needs to pay for it. Right. So as long as someone is paying for it, it can get covered. And if it falls in the definition of a family, of course, it will get covered. What was happening earlier was that because the offerings were B2B, which was basically from a TPA or an associated company or somebody else directly to the corporate, they were only addressing the employees. But then if it's going to be part of the policy, if it's going to be managed in a much better fashion, then of course a premium has to be charged for it. And at the same time, there has to be ability of that insurer and their supporting partner to run these disease management programs or wellness programs across India, across geographies. So it all depends. Anything can be covered. I'm sure all of us from insurance sector know that, as long as money are paid for it.
Yeah, great. I think the discussion is like really nice, and I would actually look to have another round of discussions. Maybe we can arrange another panel discussion on this, because it is like really interesting discussions going on, and there are different views from different experts. But I thank you all for joining us for the panel discussion, and looking forward to have similar kind of discussion in the future. And I thank all the attendees who asked the questions, who participated, and helped us to make it a good success. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you.